question will go to Steve Nazarian, and it is on open space. He will have 2 minutes to respond. If the town were to acquire additional open space, how would you like to see it used?
Well, for starters, the ability for the town to acquire additional open space is somewhat limited now, in that we have exhausted functionally exhausted the open space funds that the town acquired through multiple means over the last several years. As far as I can tell, there is no current plan to acquire more open space funds, and that's a little disconcerting to me. The open space initiative has been so successful, as far as I'm concerned, that we should have an ongoing mechanism for funding it, and not at the cost to the taxpayers use some kind of economic development trigger for setting aside certain amounts of funds that could be generated through growth that would be set aside for open space acquisition. In terms of answering the question with respect to how would I like to see it used, I think the manner in which it's been done up till now has been rather well done. We've identified properties that are potentially in flux, properties like the Rothfuss Farm that could have easily turned into 70, 80, 150 houses and is now a place where I watch my kids play soccer all summer. That's a win. Something like Sherwood Fields, where, again, it would not have been a great place to develop, so it would have been a colossal disaster as a development with a lot of wet basements. So we've been able to save that and turn that into something that we will slowly develop. So we should be identifying the parts of our town that have the potential to be turned into things that we want, and have and deter the potential for them to turn to the things that we don't. That's not to say that I'm against residential development. The growth of this town is something that I've seen throughout my life, and I imagine it will continue, but it needs to continue in a judicious way. And with respect to different ways of seeing things done, I think we need to look very closely at parts of our town that need redeveloping. Look at neighborhoods that are falling into disrepair, certain areas where houses are older and people are not keeping things up, and maybe look at redevelopment opportunities. Instead of sending a developer off into a cornfield to build 80 houses, maybe you send a developer into a neighborhood and say, what can you do here? And there are models and white papers and studies all over the country that show that redevelopment can be as advantageous and as profitable as fresh virgin development. Thank you.
Andy Moore, 1 minute.
Sure. 1,600 acres of open space, almost 1,600 football fields. That's what we have here in Penfield. I was proud just recently to vote for an additional 2 acres of open space that we're adding to LaSalle Landing Park down at the southern end of Irondequoit Bay. We've got 55 acres off Creek Street, Anna Brown. We've got the Hopkins property off 441 that's near 72 acres. We've got Rothfuss Park that's a beautiful park where our youth participate in sports. We've got the Beersley property off 441, 180 plus acres of development rights. This not only helps keeping the rural character of our community, but it also helps the farmers in agriculture by allowing them to maintain their properties and allowing them to hang on to their properties versus selling it to developers.
John Albright, 1 minute.
I'm proud to have been a part of the open space preservation committees and there are several properties, a couple that Andy mentioned, that are great. From much of the property that we have preserved has been farmland, and it's very important that we preserve our farming culture. There is no doubt about that. There are a lot of parcels that will be developed in Penfield in the next several years. They will be what we call infill developments. They'll be smaller parcels where people want to put up 10 or 20 homes. I think we need to look at some way to offset some of that development, and maybe to take some money from the development of those parcels as fees and buy other parcels so that we can maybe make some pocket parks out of them in the western side of Penfield, where we don't have the large open spaces, but we can still have some smaller areas. And maybe we can convert them into a question that might come in later, community gardens and some of those types of things.
Thank you. Paula Metzler, 1 minute.
I brag about our open space to my high school classmates who thought they could live in a better place and moved out of Penfield or New York State. I'm proud to take my kids to Rothfuss Park and other areas dedicated for recreational activities. I do think we need to continue to look into utilizing open space in the big picture manner, meaning that many different interests in using open space, take a look at their different interests. I'm a big fan of multi-generational activities, or having a family be able to do different activities all at one time. Rothfuss Park is a wonderful example. For instance, when my daughter plays lacrosse there, I can go for a run. My husband can take my son on the playground, and then we can have a picnic if we want to, get a snack, and use the bathroom. So that's the type of activity I like to see, but I think we need to look at the town as a whole to make sure that we are sampling the interests appropriately.
Lynn Crawford, 1 minute.
I think overall that the town has done a pretty good job on the open space. We are, at heart, a rural community. We're agricultural based at heart, and we're experiencing, housing growth in amongst all of this, and it needs to be managed carefully. I do think that we have enough sports facilities for a good long while. So if we acquire more open space, I really don't think we need any more sports fields. I would like to see more of the areas like the Sherwood Fields. I would like to see the town find the funding, create the funding, do grant writing, whatever. Try to find a way to continue to moderately continue to acquire appropriate open space. And pocket parks sound great to me, especially over in West Penfield where I happen to live. And I think it's very important because that's part of our quality of life. And it's a big part of the reason why I moved here. It's because I love being able to see all the wildlife and all of the nature. So I'd like to see good efforts continue.
Tony LaFountain, 1 minute.
I don't think that the town has done a pretty good job. I think the town has done a great job. Under the leadership of the town board and the supervisor, coordinated a lot by Linda Cole on the town board, working with Doug Fox and Jim Costello, and the team of residents that they put together. I think we did an outstanding job. There's a little bit of money left over, and the town is actively pursuing, looking for opportunities to spend that money in appropriate places. I was fortunate to be able to secure $100,000 for the town through a grant that'll be used to help add to this complex here at the town hall. I think there's a lot of creative things that we can do, not only through the development, but the grant writing. And who knows, maybe we need to sit back and have a conversation about do we set aside another chunk of money for developing further open space within the town. Thank you.
Margaret Trevette, 1 minute.
I want to thank Andy for going through all the open space areas. I don't think we all realize just how much we have here in Penfield already. And talking about looking for more open spaces, I'd be, being a financial manager that I am, I'd like to corral that money first and put that aside so that we have it to use if and when you do find another spot you would like for an open space. I am, of course, being a farmer's daughter. My father would have loved to take his land. He had 300 acres down by the lake road. He would have loved to have been paid some money to keep that land in nice green pastures, maybe cornfields, maybe wheat. So that's a fabulous idea to have the open space, especially for the farmers. Thanks.